Good evening, everybody. This is your boy Isaac from the Under No Conditions podcast. How's everybody doing today? My guest Tiana White, most definitely, she'll be back with us as soon as she can. Our prayers and our thoughts going out to her. How's everybody doing? We're gonna get right straight to it today. We're gonna talk about the responsibility of being accountable and allowing your ego. I'm gonna say this again: allowing your ego to keep you in prison. Today, I want to just talk about a few things. When we talk about accountability, what does accountability mean for you? When I think about accountability, for me, it means me holding myself responsible for whatever action or non-action that I choose not to make a decision to do or not to do. Ego is different because ego would allow me to know that I'm right or that I'm wrong in any ongoing situation. However, will continue to allow me not to keep myself accountable for my actions or my decisions. And many times we get caught up in our ego versus pausing, thinking, observing the situation, what's going on, looking at the part that I play in it, and then making a relatively logical choice. Oftentimes, when you in your ego and you are not at a place where you feel comfortable holding yourself accountable or you don't want to hold yourself accountable, that's when things get tricky because you could be right. However, your ego will press the issue to a point where now you become wrong. And then when you are in the situation where you are right and your behavior supersedes the correct action, which earlier I said you're being right, now you're wrong. I'm gonna give you an example. You in a relationship, you and your partner have a disagreement. You bring the facts. You lay everything down on the table. Instead of dealing with the facts and looking at it the way you need to look at it, oftentimes this is what we do. We be right, and then we take it to the next level. The next level has everything to do with ego. Now, at this point, I'm not dealing with logic. I'm in my emotions. My ego is attached to that. Now I become disrespectful. Now it went from you being right to you being disrespectful, which negates the fact that 10 minutes ago you was right. I've been in that situation, and I'm quite sure many of you have been in a situation. And a lot of times that has a lot to do with our male role belief systems. Our belief systems also keep us in prison. Your learned and taught behavior. I'm going to keep talking about this because until you change your belief system, you're always going to get stuck in your ego and you're always going to be comfortable with not holding yourself accountable. How about this? Ego is tricky. Ego will accept the fact that you're wrong. However, we keep you angry inside. Now you're thinking about a way to get back at the person for no apparent reason. For no apparent reason because the person made you feel so inadequate and the person put you on the spot to hold you accountable. Now you're going to be looking for every little thing. You're going to be searching for every little excuse to get back because you're dealing with your ego. So what happens when you're dealing with your ego and you're in your emotions? Oftentimes you find it very, very difficult to let go. I always say, if I can control it, then I deal with it. If I can't control it, I'm not going to deal with it. And oftentimes, that's what we get wrong because we want to control things we can't control, and we don't want to control the things that we need to control. I'm guilty of it. I've been there. And for a long time, I didn't know the difference. My ego always told me, Isaac, guess what? You can control everything. Everything is in your control, whether it's right, wrong, or it's indifferent. And what happened, I started finding myself in all these precarious situations. And then when I sit back, and it's not like when I say later, 1 or 2 hours or a day, it be weeks. Sometimes it be months. And then I sit and I think about it. And the first thing I say to myself, Isaac, it didn't even have to go that far. However, I allowed my ego, my false sense of my own beliefs, keep me prison. Because that learned behavior will keep you prison. Second of all, what I learned, when we talk about ego and accountability, you got to be careful about the people that you have in your life, especially when you're transitioning, when you're trying to get you back in order. Because the one thing ego needs, it's something or somebody to feed it. And if you're around 10 or 15 negative people that's not even holding you accountable and allowing your behavior to be as such and watching the results of your behavior and understanding that, you know what, I know she was wrong, but that's my partner. That's my girl. That's my man. And they watching you be out of order. And they still allow you to do that. You got a big problem. How about this one? When you at work, you got a supervisor that you don't like, or you have an co-worker that you don't like. And I understand every individual has their own personality. However, their personality has nothing to do with you. However, ego and unhealthy belief systems will attach every personality that's around you and it will become a part of you and you will make it a part of you. And then you'll be walking around, you'll be angry with people that you don't even know why you're angry about. How many times have you looked at a person and you told yourself, I don't like that person, and you know nothing about that person? That's ludicrous. That's insane. It's insane. How do I tell myself I don't even like that person and I don't know anything about that person. What I found out with dealing with my own ego is that it's certain individuals that you're going to come in contact with you that's going to trigger a reflection of who you are because you can't see who you are. But when you see that in another person, it will trigger that effect in you. And oftentimes, what I tell myself uh, every day, if I'm dealing with a situation and that situation triggers me, it's not the situation, it's me. Now I have to make a decision on how I want to deal with that. And many times I've learned not to react. I've learned at that point I need to listen. I need to not only listen to external forces, but I need to process internally what's going on with me. Because 9 times out of 10, what you're going to find out is those external triggers that triggers an emotion in you, that triggers the ego in you, that triggers the unhealthy belief systems in you, has everything not to do with the situation. It has everything to do with you. And if you're not careful, you'll stay in that lifelong cycle. You will never grow if you allow your ego to keep you hostage, to keep you in prison. I worked in corrections for an extensive period of my professional career. And I saw ego at the highest. However, when I stepped back and I started really paying attention and examining it, a lot of it came from false expectations of individuals that's around me, unhealthy belief systems, learned and taught behavior, and the inability to manage my emotions. And once I was able to examine that and put it all together, it compounded into years of hurt and self-disappointment and entitlement of myself, of people, of the things that I feel like I'm entitled to. And those behaviors, they continue to carry on through your life. And you stay in this repetitive cycle that continues to have you in bondage. For you guys to have kids like myself, your kids are are a part of who you are. And I'm gonna tell you, as a parent, ego is big. Accountability oftentimes can be challenging. It's not always difficult. However, it can be challenging. And what I've learned and how I allowed myself to get through many situations as I had to understand one thing. I've lived long enough and made 100 times more mistakes than my kids have to be able to tell them not so much what to do, but what not to do. And when I came to that conclusion, and when I started holding myself accountable, my whole approach, how I started dealing with not just my family, but people in whole was different. Stress, anxiety, depression often comes out of ego. because many times it's all about what I think I should have, what I don't have, and what I'm not willing to do to get it. So oftentimes, when you're dealing with your own ego, think about it like this. If I look at somebody and I tell myself that I don't like them, I first got to ask myself, what don't I like about myself to even make that judgment? Because by human nature, we are very judgmental. We judge everything. And the judgment and ego oftentimes gives us that slither of room, that slither of opportunity not to look at who we are and what I'm about. So oftentimes, that's why many of us stay stuck and many of us don't grow. You'll hear terms like, man, she's an adult. She's so immature. Or he's an adult. He's a grown man, but he don't act like a grown man. Emotional stability, you learn that over time. And you learn that by allowing yourself to grow. And you learn that by allowing to understand what you need to let go within yourself. I'm not going to sit up here and tell you that it's easy. I'm sitting up here and telling you that guess what? It can be done. However, many times we don't want to make a decision because instead of us looking at what we have to do when it comes to our belief system, our personal ego, and our behaviors that we learned and taught over a long period of time, I always say, I'm not worrying about what I have to do. I have to look at what am I going to gain if I make a decision to go through this process. For me, it's all about gain. I'm gonna be totally honest with you. Some days I don't want to talk. Some days I don't want to do no content. I don't want to do my show. I'm gonna be honest with you. But that's when I need to do it. That's the time that I need to get up, get off my behind, and do the thing that I don't want to do. Because what I found out is when I do the things that I don't want to do and I get those done and I don't allow my ego and I don't allow my belief system and I don't allow my pride and I don't allow unhealthy behaviors get in the way. After I finish doing the thing that I didn't want to do, man, I feel 250% better. Oftentimes, I think about just emotional transitioning like this. If I do the thing that I know I need to do, if I live life on life terms and don't worry about what's outside of me that I can't control, holding myself accountable and setting healthy boundaries with people that I love, and I don't let ego get in the way, I'm good. I've created a life of peace because now I'm able to look at the fact that I can hold myself accountable. I don't have to allow your behavior to dictate an emotional response in me because your behavior has nothing to do with me. I'm able to sit down and communicate and have healthy conversations even when it's not comfortable. So what I want you to do one thing today. I want you to look at one behavior that maybe you've looked at and maybe you haven't, that has constantly kept you in prison. And I want you to dedicate yourself to change that behavior and come back and comment on the show and tell me how you did. I want to thank you guys for allowing me to come into your life today. I really appreciate all the comments, all the likes, all the shares. I really appreciate that because I know our comment, the conversations that we normally have, they're not for everybody. They're not. This show and our conversations are for the people that want it and need it. And I want to thank those who take time out to listen because they want to listen and they need to listen. I'm Isaac, Church Lady, Under No Conditions podcast. Guess what? We love you guys. And with that, we out. Peace. Oh, yeah. Don't forget to go on YouTube, iMedia Network, Under No Conditions. Go check out some of the videos. Leave me a comment. Tell me what you think. I'm Isaac, Tiana Church Lady White, the Under No Conditions family. Until next week, peace.